Card declined, ma'am. Do you have another one? The cashier's voice cut through the quiet coffee shop, impatient and loud enough for everyone in line to hear. Camila Santos looked down, calm on the outside, but boiling inside. This wasn't embarrassment. It was something deeper. Controlled rage. The card had been canceled months ago. Of course she knew that. But today of all days, this had to happen. She handed over another card. Declined again. Behind her, someone chuckled softly. "Just put her coffee on my tab," a man's voice offered. She turned, and her stomach dropped. Daniel Kirkwood. The same man who had once looked her in the eye and said, "Camila, maybe it's time you look for a role that suits your background better." 6 months ago, Daniel stood at the head of a boardroom table, smiling that same smug smile as he fired her under the excuse of a company restructuring. She was the director of strategy, the one who saved the company from collapse with her groundbreaking proposal. But he had taken her ideas, presented them as his own, and pushed her out like she was nothing. And now, he was buying her coffee, like a savior. Camila nodded politely. "Thank you," she said, voice cold. To him, it was charity, a good deed, a story to brag about later. He had no idea what she was carrying in her bag, a sealed envelope, contracts inside, and signatures from investors ready to launch a storm he could never prepare for. 6 months earlier, Camila had walked into that same Kirkwood Industries boardroom with a plan, 42 slides of clear, data-backed strategy to double profits. Daniel barely looked at the screen. "Interesting perspective," he had said, "but this company is built on tradition." 3 weeks later, her strategy was announced as his, word for word. And Camila? Gone. Fired. Erased. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She built. Now, walking through Manhattan holding the coffee Daniel bought, Camila smiled, not in gratitude, but in victory. The envelope in her purse held the founding documents of Genesis Capital, a new consulting firm she had quietly built with 15 former Kirkwood employees, all people Daniel had once ignored, fired, or underestimated. They were women, minorities, brilliant minds dismissed for being too much or not a fit. And they were angry, ready. The best part? Daniel had no idea. That night, her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus Chun, Kirkwood's ex-IT director. "Meeting confirmed for tomorrow. I brought a gift. 5 years of internal company emails, including the ones Daniel thought were deleted." Camila stared at the screen. It was time. Camila walked into a private boardroom in Manhattan. Around the table were the best minds Kirkwood ever had, now all part of Genesis Capital. On the screen, Marcus pulled up an email. "Here," he said, "Daniel wrote, 'Too much diversity is affecting our traditional company dynamic, especially Camila. Too assertive for a woman.'" Fists clenched around the room. Camila sat calmly. This is only the beginning. They revealed everything: racist emails, stolen ideas, fake diversity numbers used to win government contracts, fraud, discrimination, theft. Daniel didn't know it yet, but his empire was already falling apart. That afternoon, Camila entered the Kirkwood boardroom once again. But this time, she wasn't an employee. She was the CEO of Genesis Capital. Daniel beamed with pride, thinking he had discovered new talent. "This young lady is going to help us save the company," he announced. Camila connected her laptop to the projector. "Actually, Daniel," she said, "I'm here to explain why your company is weeks away from bankruptcy." Silence. Slide after slide exposed everything: proof of stolen strategies, audio recordings, internal fraud, and blatant racism. The journalists Daniel had invited to cover his innovation were now taking notes for a scandal. "And the strategy that saved this company," Camila added, "it was mine. The one you fired me for." Daniel's face turned white. His hands trembled. Camila turned to him, finally smiling. "And thank you, by the way, for the coffee. The most expensive $5.80 you'll ever spend." Phones began to ring across the room. Clients were pulling out. Investors were panicking. Contracts were canceled in real time. Daniel tried to speak, but his voice cracked. His empire, built on stolen ideas and privilege, was collapsing right in front of him. Camila walked out without looking back. 18 months later, in a penthouse office overlooking Manhattan, Camila sipped her coffee as her assistant buzzed in. "Forbes is here for your cover interview." Genesis Capital was now the most respected firm on the East Coast, with over $230 million in annual revenue. What destroyed Daniel wasn't a scandal or a lawsuit. It was a $5.80 cup of coffee and a brilliant black woman he never saw coming. Never mistake quiet for weak, never confuse kindness for ignorance, and never, ever underestimate a woman with a plan. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or judged for who you are instead of what you're capable of, remember Camila's story. Real revenge doesn't come with anger. It comes with patience, strategy, and perfect timing. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been underestimated too?